there is a long list of things that have happened. We've not had a meeting since the end of July. And so there's a lot of things that have happened in government, and I will give a few really good updates. Couldn't do the whole list, it would take an hour. So I'll just pick a few things to highlight in terms of the work that's being done. You have seen yesterday the commissioning of 100 new CNG buses, and that's a very big deal. And the Prime Minister is correct. In time, it will not be a big deal that we ordered 100 new buses or that we ordered new garbage trucks. It is, but we are in this moment because of really good, prudent management of the economy. In the past, we were not able to do this. We all know it. We've seen the issues in the transport sector, buses not being available to the public. And so this is a big thing. It's a big deal to have these new CNG buses. And also, it's a good thing because of the cost savings. Running these buses on CNG is much, much cheaper than doing it on diesel. So if we look at the savings that we see there, fueling one of these new CNG buses will cost approximately $60,000, whereas for the diesel buses, it's about $60,000. That is a huge saving of $40,000 every single day. That is big, big numbers. And when you cumulatively look at it for all of these 100 buses over the year, it's a saving of $1.46 billion. $1.46 billion just for those buses. And then you also have the ones that had been previously ordered. This means that we can redirect funding towards other important things. And I know Minister Williams will say, yes, it can go to education. But there will be other very important things that this money can be used towards. And so the important thing to see is this is really policy done right. So you are not just providing the public with more transportation offerings, but you are also at the same time saving money and being able to more efficiently use the funds available to us. Apart from JUTC, the Montego Bay Metro Company Limited fleet has also been expanded, and that fleet serves commuters in Western Jamaica. And they've added 8 new buses. They're not CNG, but still, they're 8 buses. And these were handed over by Minister Daryl Vaz during his visit to the depot on August 22 at the Bogue Industrial Estate. Minister Vaz has also announced that there will be 4 more buses that are expected to add to that fleet. And it's very important that, we're not just talking about JUTC and in Kingston, but we're also looking more generally at transportation across the country. Another key development to note, and this is one that maybe we've not spoken enough about, is the Bank of Jamaica has indicated to commercial banks and other DTIs that interest rates are set to decline for the first time since October 2022. And we all know that in an effort to stem the issues in relation to inflation, that the Bank of Jamaica implemented increases in their rates, in interest rates. And so effective Wednesday, August 21, the central bank reduced its indicative policy interest rate by 25 basis points, bringing it down to 6.75% per annum. And this reduction, as they said, as the BOJ said, suggests that commercial banks and other DTIs can begin to lower interest rates they offer in loans and other lines of credit to customers. And so that's a good thing. It means that the policies are working. We're able to now start bringing interest rates down. In terms of Hurricane Beryl related items, hurricane straps, it's been a big thing. We've said that we are going to be doing more work in relation to delivering hurricane straps, and the Ministry of Local Government has done that, and they have provided 5,000 hurricane straps to residents of Rocky Point in Clarendon to assist with rebuilding their homes after the impact of Hurricane Beryl. And I know Minister Mackenzie and the ODPEM team, they're very much committed to getting these out as a part of some of the donations that we would have received. We did request hurricane straps, and also, as the PM had said, we have to build back more resilient. Doesn't make any sense to just put on back the same zinc in the same way that blew off. If another hurricane comes, it's going to blow off again. And so it's important to actually look at how we can build in resilience as we rebuild. Again, on the Hurricane Beryl relief area, another thing that we've not been able to do a lot of in the past is really give real relief benefits to individuals. 6,500 checks have been prepared by the ministry of by their ministry, and 12,000 persons are to be assisted. And so the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is in the process of distributing these checks. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. We've had many hurricanes in our history, and many times we've not been able to assist those who have been affected. But this time, if there are individuals with minor damage, they got $50,000. The checks are being done. If there was severe damage, the checks are for $150,000 each. And if our house was completely destroyed, there is a relief check of $400,000. Those are unprecedented, unheard of. We've never been able to be in a position to give that kind of support. And you would have seen yesterday there was a ceremony in Portmore. There are going to be more. I believe today is in Manchester, and they're going to be going in all of the areas that have been affected to deliver these checks to the people who have seen damage. And again, we are very much building into this accountability. It's important that it is people whose houses have been damaged that get the checks. And so there may have been, we would have loved it to be a little quicker, but you also want to make sure that you have all of the documentation, you know who these people are, you are ensuring that the persons who are getting the checks are actually the persons who have been affected by Hurricane Beryl. And so the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, led by the wonderful minister, the Honorable Colonel Charles Jr., they have done a fantastic job in doing this in a very short period. They said it takes us 6 months to get all of these checks ready for 12,000 of them. It's 12,000. And to validate and to go and check on the families and make sure you have all of the information, they said 6 months. And they've been able to do it in 4 weeks. That is absolutely fabulous for them, and it shows the work of our public sector in getting the relief to the people of Jamaica. Now, as we said earlier, today is not really about those updates, but we have to put them in, and there's a lot more to talk about. But we are going to be talking about back to school. Back to school, the school year starts next week, Monday, and the Minister of Education and Youth is here to update us on all the tremendous work. And the ministry is doing tremendous work in getting us back up and going. I know most of you are interested in the schools that were damaged, but I tell you, and I'm going to blow your horn, your drum, I'm trumpeting for you. The ministry's team has done a lot of work in other areas in relation to special needs students, in relation to just the infrastructure in schools that were never damaged by Hurricane Beryl, in the books, in so many different areas. And so I want to commend the Ministry of Education team for all that work. They worked straight through the summer under a lot of stress, and they are ready for back to school. And it is my pleasure to invite the Minister of Education and Youth to come and tell you about all of the tremendous work she especially has put in. She was on a site yesterday examining work to make sure that the school would be ready. So, welcome, Minister Fayval Williams.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to begin by acknowledging my colleague minister, Senator the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, my state minister in the Ministry of Education and Youth, the Honorable Marcia Smith, the team from the Ministry of Education and Youth, including our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop, Chief Education Officer Acting, Mrs. Terry Ann Thomas Gale, and the hardworking and committed team from the Technical Services Unit, Media Services, Core Curriculum, and the National Education Trust. Oh, we have NPSC as well. Thank you. I want to acknowledge our board chairpersons, our principals and administrators, teachers and staff who are getting ready for the 2024-2025 academic year. Our students across the education sector, three of whom are with us this morning that I'd like to acknowledge. We have Laurel Williams, you can stand, um, Chelsea Moulton, and Jamoy Pitter. And Laurel is from Glenmuir High School. Chelsea is from Immaculate Conception High School, and Jamoy is from Monroe College. Thank you for joining us for this press release. Let me acknowledge as well members of the media, Jamaicans all. Good morning again to everyone. First, let me extend condolences to the family and friends of 16-year-old Jamari Reed, who was a student at the William Knibb High School in Trelawney and was the recent victim of what appears to be a shark attack in Trelawney, a phenomenon that is rare in Jamaica. If you look up the records for Jamaica, actually, there may only have been 13 such situations in 200 years in Jamaica. So this is a very unusual occurrence. I understand that Jamari loved fishing and he's remembered as a quiet student who didn't give any trouble. May his soul rest in peace. So I'll begin by saying that this administration's commitment to education remains unwavering. We believe in the power of education, not only as transformative, but we also believe that it is a basic, fundamental human right for all Jamaicans. Despite the setback as a result of the most recent hurricane, we are determined to ensure that the education system is ready for the new school year. We know that back to school is generally one of the most anticipated times of the year. It's also full of pressure as parents prepare. It's an expensive period of the year as well. And we want to say to our parents, you don't have to buy the name brand bags, right? You don't have to buy the expensive shoes. Be reasonable in what you do. So this year, I know the anticipation is heightened due to the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. And in the first slide, you will see the number of schools that would have been impacted by the passage of Hurricane Beryl, 362. But I want to remind you that across the education system, we do have 1,009 primary and high schools. And so I did the math, and it says that 647 were not impacted by Hurricane Beryl. And so those schools are in the normal mode of cleanup and readiness. So where our attention has been is on the 362 schools that suffered different magnitude, different levels of damage as a result of Hurricane Beryl. So you can imagine that because we had so many schools damaged and such a short period of time in which to repair the damage, we had to prioritize which schools got fixed and when. So as we looked at the 362 schools, we had to place them in priority groups. So priority one would be the severely damaged schools, 107 of those. And we know we definitely had to do the work to get those fixed in order for them to be up and ready. Priority two schools are schools that are moderately damaged. What's damaged at those schools can be fixed while schools are in session. And priority three, minor damage, 116 of those schools. And again, they can open come September 2nd. And during the school year, we attend to the damage that was done. I'm going through all of this and laying it out because I know that on September 2, the press will be around to take a look at schools, and I just want them to be clear that they may go to a priority 2 or a priority 3 school, and somebody's going to point out the damage that's there, and they will say the ministry hasn't done anything. That's because we are going to be taking care of that repair during the school year. We simply had to put blinders on and focus on the priority 1 schools. Those had their roofs blown off, and we just had to take care of those. Um, and we had to do that in order for those schools to have a chance to be opened come September 2nd. So I hope that is clear in everybody's minds, in the minds of parents as well, or teachers, so that they may show up at school and they may see some damage. If you're in priority 2 or priority 3, damage will be fixed during the school year. Where do you get the information if you're in priority 2 or priority 3 or priority 1? It's on our website. All the schools are listed in the 3 priorities. So the primary damage to the priority 1 schools was to roofs and ceiling, um, windows and doors. There was some electrical damage, electrical power restoration that was needed. At some schools, we had to replace electrical pole. There's perimeter fencing and retaining wall damage as well, water tank damage, damage to furniture, and learning resources. As we looked across all regions, schools in all regions suffered some damage, but obviously most of the damage was done in regions 4, 5, I'd like to say 3 as well, which stands to reason because that's where most of the damage was from the hurricane. So the team from the Ministry of Education and Youth and we've been visiting schools to see the damage firsthand. We have been communicating with our regional teams, including directors, building officers, chairpersons in our schools, principals, to keep them abreast of what is happening, of course. With contractors in their schools, they need to be present at least some of the time, or keep abreast with what's happening there. So I want to say thank you, a big thank you to all our contractors who have been working. There are about 45 different contractors across the 107 schools. We had a very narrow window in which to effect these repairs. If you recall, hurricane hit us on July 3rd. School is to open September 2nd. So that's about 8 weeks or so to really get things in gear, something that we have never done before, but based on these contractors just rallying to the task, and our building officers or regional directors, everyone, we are at a good place today looking at the start of school for September 2nd. I'm not going to say that everything is perfect, but we are encouraged by what we're seeing. We have also said to our principals that they have permission based on their context to determine how to bring students back to school. So traditionally, our high schools would have staggered children coming back into school, so not everybody is back on day 1 or even day 2 or day 3. Primary schools, generally all students come back at the same time, but here again, we've said to principals in the Priority 1 group, that you have the agency to look at your context and determine how children come back to school. And I know our principals are doing that. We were on a call with them yesterday, and based on the report that they gave, you could tell that they were on top of things in their particular school and will do whatever is necessary to ensure the children come back in an orderly way. I know that in this moment, communication is needed. I'm encouraging our principals, our teachers to over communicate with our parents so that they know exactly what to do. I wouldn't want them to show up on September 2nd to find out, oh, it's not this grade that we're asking to come back, we're asking another grade to come back. It's important that we use all avenues of communication, whether it be the WhatsApp, telephone, social media, whatever means you have available to you, to please use it. We know that a lot of parents will converge on the school, and it's important for them to have correct and up-to-date information. There are schools in the Priority 1 in which we know, standing here today, that they will not be quite ready. All the classrooms will not be quite ready. And for those, we have contingency plans. So for example, we know that work at a particular school is going to extend for a week. We're making arrangements to have a tent. In other areas, other schools, we're using a church hall or a building that's close by, just to give us that time to get the school completely ready. So we're asking all our stakeholders to work with us as we move through this situation in which we are. There's been a lot of work done, and you will see that when you get to the schools. So that is the update in terms of schools that were impacted by, by Hurricane Beryl. Um, I know that uh, once schools resume, the issue of safety and security and health will start coming back into focus. The safety and well-being of our stakeholders is of paramount importance. As such, we're leveraging support to ensure that there are disaster preparedness kits, including first aid supplies, flashlights, batteries, emergency response kits are in our schools, and we'll be doing that as we go through the school year. Similarly, our guidance and counseling unit has partnered with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to provide increased access to guidance counselors. Might have, you know, that they might have been experiencing. To date, there are 1,047 guidance counselors across our schools. As I make mention of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we take note of a recent press release that we at the Ministry of Education and Youth would have shared via bulletin to all our schools regarding the increase in COVID-19 cases. We are encouraging schools, and we will be soliciting help to ensure that there are enough hygiene and sanitation supplies, including, you know, the normal mask, hand sanitizers, disinfectants, and so on. We are asking our principals or school nurses to be particularly vigilant. While there's not a mandate for mask wearing or you know, distancing and so on, we note the Ministry of Health's you know, concern, if I could put it that way, for us to be aware and continue to do those things that we did during COVID. With regards to educational material, we know that teaching and learning require tools. We continue to take the steps to ensure that our schools are so equipped in terms of physical books and e-resources. And as you know, parents, the e-resources are available at no additional cost to students at the primary and secondary level. Grade 4 students will have fully funded access to the Learning Hub online platform. Grade 6 students will have fully funded access to the Cheetah practice books that are available on the Book Fusion platform, and grades 1 to 3 students will have full access to the Jamaica Learning Passport. These are just resources that are available to our students. They're also available in the high school. So for example, ebooks for students in grades 7 to 9, taking integrated science, English language, and students taking English, principles of accounts, principles of business in grades 10 and 11. These are all in ebook format. We remind students and parents that there's only one download required, and after that, you don't have to have internet connectivity to access these ebooks. The license are valid for 1 year and can be accessed across multiple devices. We're encouraging our students to use this resource that's available to them. We also want to bring your attention to resources to drive parental and community engagement. And I'm happy to see the CEO of the National Parent Support Commission here with us this morning. It is the agency of the Ministry of Education and Youth that is committed to promoting support for parents and by extension families. And I know that they have done a fantastic job in the last school year in engaging, at the last count, almost 100,000 parents, right? In excess of 100,000 parents on a wide range of topics: effective parenting, how to listen to your child, how to speak about sensitive topics with your child, and so on. A range of topics. And we are going to be repeating that again in this coming school year. Psychological first aid. Well, I spoke about that earlier on, so let me move on in the presentation. Let me just say we acknowledge all efforts to date. Again, the ministry is committed to empowering all of our stakeholders in various ways. We are going to continue to just press the gas to ensure that our schools are adequately resourced. We know it's going to take more budget space and so on over the year, and we know that not all schools are going to have everything that they need, but our commitment is to continue to supply the needs of our schools and our teachers as well. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will stop there. Just to say to our students, welcome back to school. We're happy that you're coming back. Hope you're happy too. Uh, and we want you to remember that having your voices heard is important for us. We want you to begin to take the action and to become vested stakeholders. You're full of ideas. You are the innovators. You represent hope, not just for yourselves, but for generations to come. So we want to hear from you. You know, on our school boards, there's student representation. You have different organizations at your schools that you can become members of to let your voices be heard. We would love for you to practice that, to encourage that in our schools, because that's how you bring about peaceful change. We don't want to see demonstrations and so on. We want to see engagement of our students and our administrators in our schools. So we invite you to be part of the solution, to set the example for others to follow. And I'll just close by just briefly talking about the CPFSA, the Therapeutic Center. We know, as we would have seen towards the end of the last year, that there's a need for therapeutic interventions for our children. These available interventions address unresolved trauma and harmful behavior. And so we call on our parents who are having issues with their children, before you think of hitting or abusing them, pick up the phone, call the hotline, call the parenting hotline. Help is there for you, and we want you to keep that at the forefront of your mind. There are other things we could talk about, but in the lead up, in the weeks ahead, we will come back with some of those, in particular dress and grooming policy, the nutrition policy. We'll come back with those as schools, as students come back to school, and we begin to see the interaction of that on the campus. Yes, I see our students smiling. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again, Team MOEY. Um, you've done a lot of work, and it needs to be recognized. Thank you so much.
Stay, Minister. Thank you very much, Minister. And obviously, again, it's clear a lot of work has been done. And the Ministry of Education team is saying they are ready for September 2, which is just a few days away. We're going to have questions. There's not the wonderful Naomi is not in, but we are going to be taking questions from the media here and those who are online. And I see hands already up.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jamila Maitland from TVJ News. Minister, to what extent have school administrators indicated that the power hinges on their reopening? I know a lot of schools still don't have electricity. A lot of areas, rather, which includes the school. The JPS gave a August 31 deadline. What assurance have you been given that that will be met? And have there been any schools that indicated to you that we can't open because of the power?
When you look at the list, there was at least one school or one or two schools, but yesterday they reported that they got power back. Um, we haven't had, well, we had the list of over 200 schools that were impacted that we passed on to the minister, to JPS. Unofficially on Sunday, because I was in church with a high-level JPS official, they told they told me that JPS has done work, a lot of work on on that list, and so we're not expecting for there to be many schools that are saying they don't have electricity. We didn't get that yesterday in the meeting that we had with principals for the priority one schools, but there could be others. I'm not saying everybody has electricity back, but I was assured that work was done to restore electricity.
Okay. Good morning, Minister. Shoshana Small from the Gleaner. Minister Williams, initially the ministry gave an assessment, a preliminary figure of $2.7 billion to repair the schools that were damaged. Is that the same cost right now? And does the ministry anticipate entry budget going forward? And another question, Minister, it is about the teacher migration. Do we have those figures this morning to say how many teachers have left the classroom?
Okay, so on your first question, given that the number of schools assessed has increased, yes, that figure would increase, but it's not a figure that I want to publish right now. more money will be required as we go through the school year.
Minister, can you give us an estimate though as to that figure?
It's now over 3 billion. Mhm. Okay. And then with regards to teacher migration, what I can tell you is based on the numbers that have been collated for this year, and we're looking at September to August of 2020, right, the 2 years, 23, 24 versus 22, 23. Um, the information, the most current information that we have is that a total of 102 less teachers resigned this year than last year.
Morning, Minister. Mahir Stewart from Nationwide News here.
Am I right?
At the beginning, Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, she was speaking about buses, and it reminded me that Doc Daryl Vaz, he mentioned earlier this year that there was a program being put in place, a rural school transport program to ensure that people in certain areas would have adequate transport to get to school. I just wanted to know if there's any update you have on that program that you could give us.
No update this morning, but that's something we will be meeting with the minister on this week as we approach the beginning of school. Hurricane Beryl kind of just took us. Montego Bay Metro. Okay, so out there, yes. Okay, but to the extent that you have more buses in the corporate area, for instance, um, obviously that's going to be very good for our students. It means that they'll be able to get to school earlier and they won't have to wait, they won't have to loiter in the town centers for transportation. Buses will be available. But as to the particular program, that is, the details of that we have to get into as we get into the school year.
All right, yes. Good morning again, ministers. Regarding the foreign teachers that are coming in, can you say this morning how many teachers have been recruited and the subject areas that they will be filling in and, possibly where they'll be placed? And for Minister Morrison, I believe a month or two ago, you said that the task force that was established to look into AI in Jamaica will have the report by July. Has the report been submitted and where are we in that process?
Okay, you want me to start? All right, on the uh, teachers, foreign teachers. Um, to date, we only have our usual cadre of Cuban teachers and others that were in the system before. There has not been any new recruitment of teachers from other countries. There have been talks, there have been discussions, but our system continues now as we speak today to have the same countries that we've always had.
The second question was in relation to AI.
Okay, well, you can do your question. I'm going to do both together.
Okay, so I'll answer. So Jamila again from TVJ News. Minister, the response seemed a little bit vague as it relates to the number of schools that have indicated that they won't reopen. I know Monroe College is one. I'm not sure if you have any other or if that's the only school right now.
Remember that I said that schools or principals or board chairs have the permission to look at their context and decide how they bring students back to school. So a school like Monroe, that was severely, I'd put them at the top of the list in terms of being severely damaged. That principal has indicated that um, they won't start September 2nd. They'll allow a week for the work to be completed before they start bringing their students back. Other schools, as they look at their classroom spaces, they've determined we'll bring in our grade 7 and 8 today, and next day and other. They've decided on rotation. So a lot of different permutation it being used by our principals, depending on their local context.
Do you think a list would be able you'd be able to provide a list further on? Because I'm only aware of Monroe right now because they spoke publicly, but other schools might have indicated to the ministry. So we just like to provide that list, especially in light of the communications, as you mentioned. Monroe had told us, they were having issues with internet, and so they passed that information to us. So I wondered if, how we could assist those parents who may also have issues with power as well. So that's the answer to that first question. The second one, in light of there have been principals talking about equity as it relates to funding from government. The Patterson report had highlighted that. Is the ministry any closer to figuring out a formula that would be more ideal as it relates to school funding right now?
Okay. We continue to work with the same formula that we've been working with, which is the per student formula for schools. We also will look at the particular school, the context of the school. So if they say they need more desk and chairs, they need this, they need that, we will step up to the plate to ensure that they have it. Um, the question of changing the formula, again, it's one that we have to engage all the stakeholders in that, because it will involve schools in need getting more, and obviously that has budget implications as well. So it's a conversation that we need to begin in earnest. But for this upcoming school year, it will be the same formula. We've ensured that, given the hurricane damage and so on, that schools uh, would be receiving their grants earlier. So grants that would normally be available in September are being pulled forward into August and so on to help the schools.
Oh, no. Wait, I thought you had an AI question. And I wanted to do the two AI. Oh, that question on the task force. Okay. All right. Okay. In terms of the task force, they asked for a little bit more time in their report, and they have finalized their draft policy recommendations to the government. That has been finalized. They are doing their final round of review as a committee. Of course, during the summer, it can be a little tricky with some of the members, especially those who are traveling over the summer. And I anticipate that within another week or two, the final report will be before the government and we will discuss it in cabinet.
And should I just go back to your question about the specific schools? We meet more than once per week, and we go through every single school in detail, so we understand where every school is. We understand which schools, are very comfortable that they will be opened, which schools saying, all right, give us a day or two, and so on. But I know that the contractors are out there and they are pushing. They know the September 2nd deadline, and they are really, really pushing to ensure that they complete the work. Some of them have even put in double shift. They've worked on weekends. They've worked well into the night to get the schools up and ready. For September 2nd, will the schools be at 100%? Maybe not. but they're saying what's left to be done will not impact the opening of school.
Okay, go ahead.
Number of factors being thrown out in terms of what could have been the cause of the performance for this year's CSEC exams. And I just wonder if you think learning disabilities, which I haven't really heard being offered as a possible reason for the performances, do you think learning disabilities could be a factor in the performance that we've seen, not just in CSEC, but I guess you could also talk about maybe PEP? We know that we have issues with literacy in our schools.
All right, with regards to the CSEC and the CAPE results, if you look at the passes in a lot of subject areas, students did well. The area that we have significant concerns for, obviously, is in math. And that's an area we have to triple, quadruple our efforts. We know we need more math teachers in the system, and that we will be recruiting as best as we can more math teachers. I know we have programs in place to enable us to be graduating math teachers, but they won't be ready for this school year you're talking about in the next 2, 3, 4 years. In terms of the learning challenges, I mean, if those are identified, I know that within our schools, we try to ensure that there is help and support for those children who may have learning challenges in our schools. We believe that we are doing, you know, a good job by parents when you look at what's offered in our special needs department at the ministry in terms of support and resources for our children. We try as well to identify at an early age special needs children, and we try to identify them from the early childhood, from their in early childhood institutions in age 4 assessment. And over the last 2 years, we've done it every year. We have assessed.
School is back, and Dick's Sporting Goods has what you need to win your year. Check backpacks off your list from Nike, The North Face, and more. Plus, score the latest colors from Stanley, Yeti, and Owala. With gear this good, it's never been easier to win your year.
Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Work can always be done, but again, we have to be mindful that we're operating within budgets, but we try to maximize on our budgets.
Thank you.
All protocols observed. A pleasant morning to you all. Minister, all present here today, I would first like to express my sincere gratitude on behalf of the National Secondary Students Council for inviting us here today to take part in this important discussion. It really shows the ministry's dedication to youth involvement in these processes, and we are truly grateful and hope for further collaboration in the future as the school year commences. Additionally, on behalf of student leaders, and I mean secondary students island-wide, I'd like to express our gratitude for the incredible work that you have done in, the repair of schools across Jamaica. We are truly grateful, and we would like to express our gratitude. My question today is, how has the Ministry of Education held school principals accountable for enforcing discriminatory grooming policies? And what support systems has been put in place to protect students who are unfairly excluded or disciplined because of their hairstyle?
I think you should become a reporter.
I know.
You need to join the media team. TVJ, RJR, all of you nationwide.
So I know the dress and grooming issue has been a pain point in our schools for decades. Students want to be more liberal, while principals and teachers want to be more conservative. But we have seen the change over the decades, right, into us embracing, for instance, our natural hair, schools realizing that, students don't have to be in jacket and tie, they can loosen up a bit and so on. And I suspect that as we move forward, you will see an embrace of, I think, more liberalness in our schools, because people are realizing that it doesn't really impact on the education that you're receiving. But we can only move as fast as the society is willing to move. In those cases in which principals continue to lock students out, we really, I said to the PS the other day, I will be writing to board chairs to have those principals be taken through a disciplinary process, because they are violating the directives, the policies of the government. So that's where we are.
Thank you so much, Minister.
I believe we have one more question.
Good morning again, Minister. I just want to clarify a few things, just to confirm. The ministry will be tapping into the supplementary budget for more money for the school repairs.
We're always asking for more money. That's the nature of the ministry. Yes, of course, we have to. We have a better assessment now than we did right after the hurricane. And so we have to present the case to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. And on our side, we have to be efficient with the funds that we have that were already allocated to us, because we know it's additional burden on the national budget as a result of the hurricane.
Okay, and there have been a lot of discussions about the foreign teachers and the recruits coming in. And what you're saying now is that it's just merely talks. Can you tell us where we are in those talks? Or
no, we've had exploratory talks with at least 2 countries that have indicated their interest in having their teachers in our environment, and that's because they have excess teachers in their countries. Those have been, like I said, talks. There's nothing, no signed MOU or anything like that.
And these 2 countries are Ghana and the Philippines?
Ghana and the Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah, Minister, question. I know that during the CXC press conference, when the results were being revealed, Dr. Nicole Manning had indicated that in light of the pass rate for mathematics, there would be some strategies that they would recommend or potentially implement as a means of seeing if they could get those grades up more. Is it that you will be in talks with, or the region rather, will the region at some point be meeting soon to discuss the results? And will there be a meeting between maybe you and the JTA in the future to see if there's any strategies that could be implemented?
All of the above. But I know at the ministry, I'm looking around for our CEO. Look at right there. CEO, can you just say again what you said at the press briefing in terms of some of the strategies that we'll have in place?
Good morning, everyone. The Ministry of Education and Youth, we have commenced work already in looking on how it is that we approach the teaching of language arts and mathematics, literacy and numeracy at the primary level. We have gone ahead to restructure our curriculum department in looking on the foundational unit. We have also looked at focusing, using our literacy and numeracy coaches in driving what we consider now a coaching method. So instead of us being more of a facilitator, we're more doing the coaching, using the coaching method. It is that we help our teachers to implement the different methodologies that are needed to bridge that gap with the instruction and how students learn. We're really putting the students in the center of everything. So we've started already at the primary level. We have also looked at the students who are going into high school. There is a plan of work that will be sent to a group of students who we saw coming out of PEP that were performing below average, meaning that they're at the beginning, they're on pathway 2 or 3, and there is a plan of work that will be sent to them. We're targeting not just at the primary level, but we're looking across all different levels as it relates to mathematics and language arts and English in some areas. We're also coming out of transformation. It requires us to look at the programs that are offered at the teachers' colleges. So there is a deliberate attempt in looking at the program structure at that level as well. The focus coming out of PEP last year with our Recover Smarter 2.0, we double the efforts in areas where there are weaknesses. Our PS refers to it as flipping the script, where it is that we are encouraging our school leaders to take control of the instruction. If it is that you have a math problem in your school, we're not saying to stick to a timetable that is giving the students a certain number of hours for mathematics, but instead to make the emphasis in the areas where there's weaknesses. And so there's also that agenda where our school leaders need to take charge of the instruction at the school level. So the ministry is very targeted in how it is that we're approaching the delivery of our curriculum, our syllabi, and we work in collaboration with our regional bodies as it relates to how it is that we guide our teachers and principals. Thank you.
Thank you. You had another one?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, this has to be the last one. Okay.
All right, so for my last question, on Nationwide 90 FM, we have a segment known as Public Opinion. And yesterday, we asked who the Jamaican public believe should be the country's next Minister of Finance. And you were touted by many as the best choice. I know you said you weren't going to comment on it before, but today is a new day. So I thought, maybe I'd ask today if you have any reaction to the public saying that you should be the next person in line for the role.
Well, I appreciate that today's a new day. But the comment will be the same. No comments. Thank you.
Thank you all. And as you heard, there's a lot of work that has been done. They weren't able to go through everything that they have done to be ready for school, but they have done a lot of work. And in the coming days, you'll hear more. You had asked about the bus program. Minister Vaz has indicated he will put out an update and he will come to post cabinet to discuss the rural school bus service. So we will answer and give you more details on that one very soon. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to the wonderful Ministry of Education team, our new media rep from the National Students Council's grouping. And we will see you all again next week, Wednesday at the same time. Thank you.